Welcome back. So in the last video, we learned about the role of multiplexer in an HTTP server, and we also learned to register our routes and the handler function with the default multiplexer. So in this video, you will learn to marshal the struct data to JSON representation, and we will also see how the client perceives the data if it comes with the incorrect content type response header. So let's go to the code. Let's revisit once again what we have done. So here we have defined our routes and the handler function with the default multiplexer, and then here we are starting our server. In this example, we'll be sending a list of customers in the response. So let's start with creating a struct first. Let's name it customer. So a customer will have a name, a city, and a zip code. Let's keep it simple. Now next we'll create a handler function for it. So let's duplicate the existing handler function and rename it to get all customers. We'll remove this thing, and now let's create a list of customers. So we say I want a slice of customer, and let's initialize it with some dummy values. I say I'm a customer of this bank and I live in New Delhi, and this is my zip code. And let's duplicate it again and add my friend Rob. He's also a customer of this bank. So now we have the list of customers. So let's encode them in JSON format. So it's pretty easy to do in Golang. Use the JSON library and new encoder. So if we see this new encoder, it takes an IO writer. So if you recall, it is something similar to the fprint function. So let's pass w to it and call the encode function and ask it to encode all our customers in JSON format. So we have a list of customers here, and then we are encoding them in JSON format. Let's register an endpoint for it. So we'll duplicate this and say customers, and here get all customers. And now let's run our example. Go to Postman, and I'll say customers on localhost 8000 port. So here we have the response in JSON format. But if we go to headers and see the content type, it shows it as plain text. So this response, it looks like JSON, but actually it is not JSON. So setting the right content type in the response header is really important, and let's see how we can do this in Golang. So let's come to our handler function. So here we have to tell the response writer to set the right content type response header. So we'll say w.header function, and we want to add a content type response header, and this is having a value of application JSON. And by doing this, we'll be able to set the right content type. Let's restart a server and come back to Postman. So now if we see the response, it is a nicely formatted JSON response, and the header is also showing the right content type. Now let's take a look at the keys of the JSON response. And here we have all the keys starting with the capital letter. And that is because they are following this struct definition. So if we want to change the keys in the JSON response, we need to set the tags against the field names, and it is done inside the backticks. So you can say JSON colon inside the double quotes, let's call it full name, and let's do the same for others. So here I say city, and then here I say JSON colon zip underscore code. So these tags are like hints to the JSON encoder, and the encoder will use these tags as the field name in the response. So let's run our code again. And resend the request. So here we can see the tags coming in the response. So let's do the recap. We have created the struct and set the tags for the JSON response. And then we created the handler function, where we have defined a list of dummy customers, added the appropriate content type header, and then ask the encoder to encode all our customers in the JSON type. So in the next example, we'll be doing the XML marshalling, and we'll also play around with the request headers.